Okay, good morning or afternoon, everyone. We have a huge show today. We have Matt's TikTok fame and move to Austin. We have a thanks for watching for Google, Albo, the Australian Prime Minister, and Chamath. Cluely or Clueless. We'll dive in. We start the pre-seed bubble charts. The top 3 are going to be revealed. Underground autonomous logistics, travel at hyperspeed. OpenAI's note taker killer. Grok 4 goes wild and into Teslas overnight. Windsurf, what the hell happened? My prediction on smart glasses, training robots comes true. The web browser wars, Google, Perplexity and OpenAI have a crack. And parting wisdom, buying talent versus building culture. Good morning / afternoon. Where are you?
It's afternoon over here. I'm in Austin and I'm not coming home. So I've made the move and pretty excited to be over here and then to have you over here in a couple of weeks, I hear, or in 1 week, I hear.
Absolutely, yes. I'm heading over. So quick reveal off the top. We will be a bit late on the pod next week, but we will be together for the first time. So, and in Austin. So very exciting.
It took us to be in a completely different continent together at the same time to bother to get in the same room when we could have just done it from our offices that are 5 minutes from each other. But we're going to make it happen. It's exciting.
Absolutely. So we're going to be robo-taxiing. There's a potential joint flight with a baby. So we will have plenty to go over in Austin next week. But more importantly, mate, I just firstly off the top want to thank you for still participating in this humble pod now that you're famous. We've had some TikTok virality. You went early on Jack Dorsey's new Bluetooth thingy last week. And nerds of the world celebrated on TikTok. We've had something like 60,000+ views, 3,000 likes, hundreds of comments. None of them mentioned me, all celebrating your excellence. So thank you for still participating.
Well, there was quite a few who were saying how this is just a crap idea and this has been done before, and it got the nerds all riled up anyway. But it is good. We've been posting on TikTok for a while. It's certainly not maybe our demographic. We're not the TikTok experts, the tiki-talkies, as I like to call it sometimes. But we've gone somewhat viral with 60,000+, got a few more subscribers as a result. And speaking of a bit of virality, Scotty, I've had a good week because I also posted about moving to Austin on LinkedIn, and that somewhat blew up with over 1,000 likes and almost 200,000 views now. So hopefully this is becoming a trend. We're gonna start finally getting the viewership that we think that we deserve.
Look, mate, it's just good to see. Look, I picked you number 1 in the draft, obviously, right? When we decided to do the pod. And I thought you would have good distribution. Bit worried 15 weeks in, but just in the middle of the season, you've hit your stride and, getting that distribution that we're always after. So, no, well done to you. I'm still humbly just dragging a few views for us, once a week. So, thanks to my mum for watching. Mate, and speaking of thanks for watching, we've got a few this week, and we don't want to look internally too much, but we just want to thank a few heavy hitters for tuning in over the last 16 weeks. The first one is Google. They've launched Gemini into Google search for paid customers, which I think is their way of upgrading search for one, or else it's going to get mauled. But also they're sort of taking it further so that you can almost go through the website and to try and buy something straight away. And I think it's maybe rewarding their blue link, their actual clientele. So what are your thoughts on them doing that?
Yeah, it's a smart move, and we did talk about this a while ago. So thanks for watching, Sergey and Larry. We all know that the AI browsing experience is going to change, and obviously Google had to innovate here, and we'll talk about it later in the episode. But this space, interestingly enough, is really heating up how we browse information and what's going to happen. And is there this combination between a tip a standard search engine that's delivered in a web browser and the text interface that is delivered in our AI LLMs. And they're kind of converging like a lot of good technology does. So it's a smart move by them. I think you're right in saying that this is a way of bridging the gap between not cannibalizing their existing customers that pay on search ads to be that blue link that appears higher in the search by capturing the transaction as well. So I think it's a smart insight.
Yeah, and it's only available, I think, to Google Pro and Ultra, who you and I are both clients of. So I think that what they're saying is, well, if we've got these people paying $30 a month, they probably will take that as a subscription over the Blue Link model as well. So they're just in the transferring phase. They know they have to do something. Good to see them doing something. The last two, thanks for watching. We're going to merge them. Albo, Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister of Australia, and Chamath Palihapitiya, who most of our listeners will be familiar with, host of the All In podcast, worked at Facebook for a long time. Going to merge them because we had Albo's recent trip to China, shaking hands with President Xi. We have spoken about the Australia-Switzerland maneuver. We've got some war games going on with the US at the moment in Australia, and Albo ducks off during them to go shake hands with Xi. So very Swiss-like. So very proud of the man to keep our relationship going with both the US and China. And just on the back of that as well, a few weeks ago, we spoke about Australia potentially having the resources, if we open up, to bring our marginal cost of energy and compute down to zero if we allow other companies to come in, harvest energy and compute in our country, and then give it to the Australians for free. So, and Chamath has come out and said the marginal cost of compute is going to zero, the marginal cost of energy is going to zero, plan accordingly. So thanks for watching, Albo and Chamath. And what are your thoughts in general just on some of the geopolitics there, and also some of the forward thinking of what if this happens? What if compute and energy are free?
Yeah, well, I agree that it's good to see Albo making some moves. Typically, we've seen him retracting a little bit. I haven't ever thought of him as the boldest of leaders without getting too political. So maybe he's playing to his strength here. And yeah, with Chamath and the energy, let's just hope that Australia actually does get to that marginal cost of energy going to zero and we don't fuck it up. Because, like we've said, we need to get the big players in, building data centers and actually using some of our energy. So let's hope that we're not left behind in that, and that it's not just the US and China doing that and we're still stuck paying for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And mate, just before we get into sort of some of the bigger AI news, just a funny one I saw is Clueless, which we've mentioned over the last few weeks, viral young startup, built all their marketing around cheating. They had a round where A16Z got involved, which sort of, I suppose, made them a serious startup that were previously everyone thought might just be a bit of a joke. But they've been taken on the weekend by just a weekend vibe coder who's created Clueless, and basically taking this sort of meeting organizer. So Clueless is sort of this glass UI that everyone's doing at the moment. And, live in a meeting, if you've got their glasses on, it's going to be giving you suggestions of topics and research and, what to say next. And, they're calling it cheating on everything. But I just thought it was funny because what the guy said who invented this Clueless over the weekend, he goes, I'm not sure what they're using their $15 million to do, but it's not on compute. It might be for marketing. And if so, great job. but I've just vibe coded their whole software over the weekend. So I liked that from them. It's almost been taken on at their own game. So it just reminds everyone, it's one thing to try and build distribution through virality, but at the end of the day, there has to be some substance there. And just be careful for the next young gun to take you on.
I guess I would sort of take the other side of this one in saying that it just shows that technology is not much of a moat anymore. So why did A16Z invest? They're not stupid, and they would know that the tech that they've built is nothing impressive. And so I think the reason they've invested is because they do have this viral marketing and this CEO that's going out there and showing that they can go viral multiple times. And so people are starting to value distribution more. You look at maybe every tech company is going to have to become a media company because the moat around your technology is going to become so small. So I think that's probably why they invested. And yes, it is quite hilarious that someone vibe coded it, and I love the name Clueless, is also hilarious. But I think we're going to see this more and more. So who's going to win here? Is it the lean startup that has built this in a weekend, or is it the team that is going to invest heavily in distribution and virality? And it's probably the latter. So it's very interesting to see the moat around technology getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, 100%. It could go either way there. It would be interesting to see if they hire him. Like, if in the end it was just the best pitch to be hired, be like, all right, let's go get him. Give the guy $1 million for his weekend project. Get him on board. That would be another
Talent
acquisition,
wars.
as we spoke about last week.
Yeah.
And look, and speaking about potentially overpaid talent, we're going to start a new chart here on B2 Built to Scale, and it's going to be called the Talent Bubble Chart. We have coming in straight to the top the gold medalist Mira Murati, who I think was potentially previously CTO of OpenAI, either chief CTO or CPO. She's got thinking machines. They've done absolutely nothing, and they're valued at 12 billion. So pre-seed, no product, couple of humans with a good idea and some IP, into 12 billion. I think they join Ilias Getsuba with Safe Superintelligence at a very similar value with no product. And all of them squashed our man Johnny Ive at a mere 6 billion a couple of months ago. So Johnny Ive might be renegotiating the contract because he's actually built something before. And we're just going to keep a real close eye on this because I like it. It's the ultimate bubble. Because Mira Murati could get could have a tragic accident next week, and I'm not sure what happens to the valley if all you've got is a couple of people.
Well, maybe we can actually start a betting market for who the next ones are going to be in the pre-seed charts and what their val's going to be. So we might actually be able to skim some off the top here, Scotty, and make some money off the pre-seed charts.
Well, you can often bet against certain things. We could short them as a stock potentially, but also, mate, we're at Elysium where we've got some a little bit of a pre-seed type round coming up, and at the start of the Prezi, I'm at least 1,000th as good as her. Which would be 12 million US. And that's the end of the presentation. It proved to me that she's not 1,000 times more intelligent than me. So.
That is quite funny. Like when you're trying to value private businesses, you do comps or comparables on what other similar transactions are. So I think I like that idea. Just take Mia Murati's business, divide it by 1,000, and that's what I want. That's all I want. If people will hand you the money.
I'm a humble guy. So thanks, Mira, for rising the bar for pre-seed founders who want some money. She's doing God's work for us. So thank you very much to her. Mate, the next one, I haven't seen their pre-seed value yet, but I like the idea, and I think maybe Elon's somehow a step ahead again. Pipe Dream Labs are talking about underground hyperspeed logistics. So if you imagine we've had Amazon, getting you stuff within 24 hours. Now we have drones flying deliveries around, especially in Austin. I assume you're getting some sort of Chick-fil-A delivered to you via a drone in the next week as one of your landing gifts. But our friend Garrett Scott from Pipe Dream Labs is talking about hyperspeed logistics underground, moving things around town in 5 to 10 minutes, and which all sounds pretty so autonomous as well. But all sounds pretty exciting. But maybe I was thinking Elon's boring company, and then you're thinking actually Elon's been thinking about this for a long time.
Yeah, he has. And I don't know if the technology is exactly the same. Elon's always touted this idea of the Hyperloop. And essentially what that one is, and I haven't researched this, so I hope I don't get it wrong, just going off memory of seeing this ages ago, but basically where you take all of the air out of a vacuum tube. So you build a tunnel, you put a tube in it, and you take the air out as much as you can, such that something can go really fast through it because you get rid of the friction. And so Elon has actually, I think, helped fund or supported these Hyperloop challenges at universities over the years to see how fast people can get these Hyperloops going. And then you look at him doing the Boring Company and building the tunnels. They obviously go hand in hand with each other. And so it gets us thinking about around what does this infrastructure or this network of underground tunnels mean for logistics and mean for everyday life. Obviously, Pipe Dream Labs thinks it's going to change everything. And one thing that Elon said about this, which really resonated with me a while ago, was, do we really want drones flying everywhere all the time? Like, they're noisy. I don't think that's ever going to change because they're displacing air. Do we really want to see like drones just delivering into your neighbor's yard as you're out there trying to enjoy a day by the pool or something? Or do we want these things going through a network of tunnels underground that we just can't see? Like, I know what I would choose. So if it's possible to actually do that, then this makes a lot of sense. And I guess the very interesting thing is when you look at Elon's grand vision of moving us to Mars as well, I don't think there's going to be drones flying around on Mars. So having this tunnel network, the technology would apply there too. So again, thinking many steps ahead of us all, but it is good to see that another company like Pipe Dream Labs potentially going to change logistics forever, and how we get things delivered is going to become, again, the cost, just like energy, is probably going to go almost down to zero. And what does that mean for us and the way we live our lives?
Yeah, so logistics has been completed almost in 2D on one horizontal plane for hundreds of years, thousands of years. And now we're adding a vertical plane to that starts underground. And I suppose can go like the tube in Britain or or in the US. You can have layers of tunnels going down, but then also now we're taking on the above ground vertical space. If you imagine it working in a grid, you've got your cars at a certain level, you'll have drone heights, and then you'll have sort of more serious drone, long journey, autonomous drone heights. And then above that, you've sort of got your helicopter. Above that, you've got your commercial plane going in a different direction. So I just think it's this layering from sort of 2D logistics to third dimension with that y-axis going vertically. So very, very exciting. And then once you start thinking about that, you're now scaling up and down instead of just horizontally with logistics, it does change the game for how long something should take to get delivered, and also how long it should take you to get somewhere. And there's a fair bit of engineering and a fair bit of red tape to get there. But it's good just to see the plans coming out.
Yeah. And an interesting side note on this one. I recently learned about a city in China that I haven't been to, but my in-laws have. It's called Chongqing. I think it's just outside of Xi'an. And they are built, I think, in sort of the mountains, but their infrastructure is very much that. It's kind of 3D. Like, they've got trains that go through buildings, for example. And I'm sure we can, for those watching on YouTube, we can throw out some videos of this. But this stuff is being done already. That idea of 3D transport and logistics is starting to be done. And I think China's leading the way. So it will be interesting to see how this space evolves.
Yeah, absolutely. And, mate, the next topic, OpenAI, they had their week off, so we want to welcome them back. Hope they're all feeling refreshed, or whoever's left. There's probably just a few of them left in the corner, and Sam at the office. But they, to announce their return, have said that the mic is yours, they're saying. So they're rolling out ChatGPT Record to team users on Mac. And basically what that sounds to me like is they're trying to kill off the note taker. So we've spoken last week. I did a big tool of the week on note takers, so Fireflies and Limitless. Don't worry, Limitless, I haven't taken it off today just because I've seen this announcement. It's not I haven't just killed them off just yet, but I feel like this is in preparation for the Johnny Ive product. So at the moment, they're saying, let's do it through your Mac. we're just going to listen to any meeting. We'll do the notes. We'll do the transcript. We'll do the summary for you. We've also got your stored memory. So bang, because I was talking about getting that Fireflies info or getting that Notebook LM info and dragging it into OpenAI. So now they're saying, look, we'll do it direct, but at the moment they're talking about doing it through the Mac. And to me, it just seems like, let's capture the data, let's get the software play going, and then when our wearable comes out, we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, it totally is. They are going to kill off all of the note taker software out there, all of the apps that, like you mentioned, Fireflies, or I use Granola. There's literally hundreds of them now. That's their plan. They want to kill them off because it's a whole lot of data input that they can then go and feed the machine. They can feed the second brain. And this is where it's all going. This, what the race is and where all these massive valuations are coming to. Everyone's trying to achieve the same thing, basically. They talk about super intelligence, but really what I think the major thing is it's how can we create second brains for people? That's really what most of the AI companies are trying to do. We've talked about ChatGPT now having memory of all your conversations. We've seen the web browser wars heating up, which we'll talk about. That's about looking at all of your search information, getting more info in about you and what you're thinking. The note takers, exactly the same thing. It's your meetings. And so where this is all going is how can we create a second brain such you don't actually need a bunch of software. You can just query things immediately. It knows what you're thinking. It knows what you're doing the next day. And what does the interface look like for that? With Mira, I called her Mira last time. I meant to say Mira, Murati's company with thinking machines, is what does the interface look like with AI and how do we interact with it? They're all trying to do the same thing. Just turns out that OpenAI is going to kill a bunch more startups, which Sam said that he would do. And the integration with the hardware piece, I think, is really big because, like you've mentioned, having something like a pendant is a lot more convenient than having to get out your phone and put it on the table for a meeting. So good work, Sam, and the team at OpenAI. It's good to see that you can still ship with a gutted personnel.
Yeah, and I think what we're talking about before was just be careful about being a rapper, which is with the W in front of the R. But just be careful about being an OpenAI rapper or a Claude rapper. And because they're going to come for you. They're going to see, even if they weren't thinking about it, they're going to see the usage and they're going to go, let's just do that ourselves. So, which, is, Microsoft's done similar things in sort of capture and kill, just kill things off by making it part of their own ecosystem. And does this sort of lead into the Windsurf / Cursor? Maybe you can take us through what's gone on with Windsurf, because the news has been all over the place for the last couple of months, and sort of what their story is there. And then maybe we'll just have an overarching thought about what it means to wrap up these frontier models and create a product.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds good. I'll actually start with just extending your comment around the open AI and the foundational model wrappers. So again, not the 50 cents, but the wrapping around something when we say wrapper. So we have talked about these before on the show and how a lot of these AI wrappers are actually doing really well because they create a product that's quite niche, it solves a problem, and they accelerate really quickly to higher amounts of revenue. Like you've just said, if they're doing really well in a certain space, the big players who now have application layers, they want to capture that usage because their own companies, the competition is heating up. And so where I think you can really stand out here is by going for the vertical play, by picking a industry or a part of an industry and saying, we are going to do absolutely everything for you. You're only going to need our software to run a bunch of your business, because something like that, the big players can't specialize into doing that. They can't build all of the different configurations and make it really easy for one type of business, no matter how niche that is. If it's literally, dog groomers or whatever it might be, they're not going to go that niche. You're not going to be able to get OpenAI for dog groomers but you can have a piece of software that wraps OpenAI to do that. So I think that's really and what a lot of VCs are investing in the vertical AI space because of this reason. If you're trying to build horizontally, you're trying to build for lots of people, then I think you're right. The big players are going to come for your lunch and they're going to eat it. So how this ties into the Windsurf acquisition, as a reminder of what the deal was, Windsurf is a coding tool. So the ability to write code and use AI to do it. We've talked about Cursor. Windsurf was probably their biggest competition. So they got acquired, or the deal was underway to get acquired for $3 billion. It didn't get finalized in the exclusivity period. And so the rumor is that there might have been interference from Microsoft around the IP and whether or not Microsoft would get access to the IP and Windsurf and what that would mean for VS Code and the integration with OpenAI. We don't really know. It's speculation. But somehow the deal has been killed. Once the exclusivity period was over, Google has swooped. What's the word? They've come
Swooped
in, and swooped in. Jesus, yeah. They've swooped in and they've picked up the key talent from the Windsurf team, and also have licensed some of the IP. So the Windsurf team, who is now not getting acquired for $3 billion, their CEO and a bunch of key talent is now getting poached in this talent war to go to Google. And so the team is left with nothing. They don't have their $3 billion valuation. They've lost a bunch of their key staff. And so another AI coding tool called Cognition, or they have a product called Devon, which we use at BuildPass, they've actually come in and purchased the rest of Windsurf. So a massive screw around, crazy story in tech, very, very Silicon Valley. And I saw a funny post on X about this, actually, that there's a show called Silicon Valley where they talk about the craziness of what's happened in startups and in that area. And there was a building that this Silicon Valley sort of satire show was based out of. And the Windsurf team actually worked in that same building and has now gone through this very Silicon Valley style story. So it's all quite funny to see it come full circle. And yeah, I think what it goes to show is the talent war is very real, and these big players will stop at nothing to get a piece of the activity, is how I would wrap that one up.
Yeah, so I would say in summary there as well, you're saying you've got to go after an industry vertically, which means understanding the full workflow of someone in that industry, and you've got to add value to them at every layer, and you can wrap models to help solve that workflow. And you might be using different models throughout that workflow, but you're still adding some domain expertise and solving industry vertically. And at horizontal level, if you're just racking for one thing and you're trying to get out to millions and millions of users on a more retail type experience, consumer type experience, that's where they're going to get you. That's where they're going to go, no, we want that. But we're not going to put the effort in to solve construction. We're not going to put the effort in to solve, medical. We're going to get you at the consumer level.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And look, maybe they will. Like, we've seen Microsoft moving into healthcare. We've seen Oracle purchased Aconex for over $1 billion to move into construction. So I wouldn't say they're not going to move into the space at the foundational layer, but I don't think that they're going to really customize for a niche audience. And so maybe if we took the construction example, maybe we are going to only service high-end residential builders because they have a very different set of needs to someone who builds warehouses, for example. So I think that's where it's going. It's not to say you can't build horizontally and be successful, but if you do get success, like you said, you're going to attract the attention of the big guys, and you're going to have a lot of competition very quickly.
Yeah, agree completely. So at least I watch this space, because it seems like, you can be made a fool if you have a very firm opinion. The frontier models can make a fool of you pretty quickly, but I think I like where you're heading there. Mate, the next one, obviously, we had a bit of a laugh last week that Grok 4 was planning on releasing minutes after our show. but we did manage to get it in the title. And that the playing around with Super Grok was actually a pre-release thing. So we got it in the title, which was good for us. However, what's interesting is it's been a huge week, obviously. It landed, we named the show last week The Intelligence Big Bang, because that's what Elon said. And I think that's going to go down in history as, just a moment. There's certain moments, ChatGPT release, and I think him sort of saying this is the intelligence big bang. We're at the start of this revolution. So that was really cool. But plenty of use cases, plenty of noise around Grok 4 going to the top of these sort of AGI charts. And we'll talk more about the culture at XAI compared to other companies. But what was interesting is, and I've never seen this around two companies before, was released 2 days later into Teslas. I've never seen cross collaboration of two companies, especially one's public and one's private, with an integration like that basically overnight.
Yeah, it just goes to show when you've got a vertically integrated conglomerate of businesses, what you can do. So yeah, the fact that didn't appear in announcements, or I didn't even see anyone speculating about this, to be honest, that Teslas would get Grok and would become fully AI native, and it happened overnight. It's wild. So if you think about what this means for the car, I would hope that you don't have Grok making decisions on like how to drive the car. Like there's a separate model for that. That's what full self-driving is. They've been tuning that for a while. I think the engineers who work on Grok are probably a bit more looser than that. But what you do have is it's integration with the software layer. It's, hey, I've got can you look at my calendar and take me where I need to go? And Grok will talk to you in natural language. You can just imagine all of the things that you'll be able to do, because it will be self-driving as well. You'll have this big interface there. It could record your meetings potentially if you're having a meeting in the car. It's just like an extended interface, and then that can interact with the car. Find me I need to go charge up. Find me the closest charger on the way to this. You don't even have to go and plug it in. So I think it's really cool. And like you said, the ability for that to be essentially shipped over what felt like overnight is also incredible.
Well, there's also a thanks for watching for my man, the CEO of Xiaomi, Li Jun. His cars have been AI native for a while now. And, on his cars, you can talk directly to the model, voice mode. Native Xiaomi. They might actually be getting their models from another Chinese. They might be using DeepSeek or something. I'm not sure, but you can open the hood and open the trunk and all that kind of stuff. So they've actually had this going for a while, and I think it might have been an Elon keeping an eye on it and going, let's quickly just jump on. And like we've spoken about, China's now not just the copycat. There's some innovation going on over there. And I think the US are watching, started with drones, and now we're looking at cars. They don't have the self-driving, I suppose, complexity and as mature as Tesla's full self-driving. But yeah, I just noticed on the same week, the guy from the CEO, Li Jun, just said, welcome to having a model in your car. So I thought that was very good by him.
Yeah, that is very good. And I agree that China is starting to innovate, except when you really like the look of a car, like a Porsche, and you say, that's what my car's going to look like.
They've almost got the perfect balance. They've deleted the IP, and then they've got the tech, the manufacturing prowess. They're like, hey, why don't we just try some stuff ourselves as well? Great segue now, speaking of autonomous vehicles, if we jump into the robot rundown, where the rubber meets the road in technology. And there's so much going on in the robot rundown. I feel like by the time we get here on every episode, we probably just need a second show, because you and I have so much spare time in our hands. But little one for me, I think maybe episode somewhere between 1 and 3, probably wasn't even released publicly. I spoke about what I believe the future of robotics in construction was, or any field, was the training, the day-to-day tasks. And I know one form of training is synthetic training in the Omniverse in NVIDIA, where, they've got the physics-based engine where, you're training robots to deal with everyday scenarios based on physics. So whether it's walking upstairs, running, tripping over things, dealing with what the day-to-day life on Earth looks like. And there's plenty movement on that this week as well. But then the one that I predicted that I think a lot of people were talking about was the everyday worker with the AI glasses on. And the AI glasses just picking up on those movements, and especially repetitive movements. We used the bricklaying example a fair bit, but what we're now seeing is Chinese factories. So if you think Chinese manufacturing, they're the world's engine room. They've got millions of people in manufacturing doing repetitive tasks. Now we put the AI glasses on them and they're training themselves out of a job, but that's okay. They're not being really asked whether they want to or not. But all that data, millions and millions of people doing repetitive tasks, going into the AI glasses, training robots. Before you know it, Chinese factories will be deployed with robots instead of humans. And I think that's really interesting. That's coming to light.
Yeah, I think it's a good. Thanks for watching. I think whether or not you've spurred on the revolution single-handedly is up for debate, but like in hindsight and looking at how quickly this space is moving and how much investment is going into humanoids, it seems so obvious, right? Like when you take self-driving cars, the reason that Elon's full self-driving is so good is because he's had so much data with Teslas come in. They've been using that to train it. So when you're thinking about humanoids, where are you going to get the data to do factory work? Putting the glasses on the factory workers. It makes so much sense. And yeah, the idea of what does this mean for all the factory workers? Well, hopefully, yes, it means that they won't have factory jobs, but we can get into more creative jobs, or people maybe have to go on. There's more pensions from governments because these people won't be needed. But what does the world look like in sort of 10, 20 years? You can't see a world where there's a single factory worker. It just doesn't seem realistic at all. So very interesting space to be watching.
Yeah, I'm really interested in what's the winner. So Elon has spoken about with Grok 4 that they've run out of real world data to train on. They've scraped the entire internet. There's only so many YouTube clips that there is out there, and there's only so many books. And he said the next level to get to AGI and ASI is actually training on synthetic data. So that is where the model creates data to then almost train itself on, and then the model's then improving itself. You pair that with Jensen's and NVIDIA's Omniverse, which is training on synthetic training ground. It's not real. It's programmed. I'm interested to see what wins here in the robot space. If people go all in on visual models and AI glasses and training, copying humans, or whether the compute gets so good that the synthetic data gets so good and you can just train on it, a million times over overnight and run a million different scenarios. Or is it pairing the real world data with synthetic data and that's your training ground? I'm not sure if any robotics company has really released what their exact play is here.
It's a really good thought. I don't know. I think you'd think that it has to be a combination of both. Would you ever rely on, say having a humanoid robot that's coming into your house that has just been trained in a Omniverse somewhere else? It sounds like that would be dangerous. So it's probably the combo, but it is interesting to think that the amount of training data out there has been maxed out. But again, that's training data from text. That's things, books, that's pages on the internet, that's videos. But the thing that we haven't trained on is the real world. We've got data coming from cars now, but we don't have necessarily data from factory workers. We have data from in the home. So that is probably going to be the highest point of leverage, is how do we get new forms of data, whether it's synthetic or real.
Yeah, 100%. And all very exciting. It's just a reminder that, anything you're doing in your workplace is a data capture opportunity for future automation. And I think there's definitely a spot. I think there's one spot in every business at the moment for, an AI-based sort of AI software engineer to like as an automation or a chief AI officer in every business, I think we'll see. But the other one is almost like a data scientist to pick holes where we're not capturing the data. So where we're performing a task or we're performing a function and that data is being lost. So you could go through your entire workflow and all your staff and all the parts of your business, the value chain, and just see, are we capturing the data and are we training for automation? And I think there's at least a couple of roles there of two people working together for basically data capture and then how to leverage it and what are the tools to start automating. So keep an eye out for us for some of those jobs on seek.com coming through in businesses. Mate, this week's sort of tool of the week is not just a tool, but it's more talking as well about these web browser wars. It appears as though everyone's coming for the browser. So I remember when we were young, I remember when like Firefox first came out, and that was like, the new web browser that was going to protect your privacy. So we all jumped on that. We've then since had Safari and Chrome, Edge from Microsoft. But what we're seeing at the moment is Google's really dominated with Chrome, and then also their deal with Apple almost in Safari to get, if you type anything into it, it goes through Google. That was that sort of $20 billion a year they paid Apple. But now we've got Perplexity basically going out and saying we're going all in on the browser, on a smart agentic browser. And then OpenAI have just basically come out and confirmed they're going for a browser as well. So can you tell us a little bit about what the browser play means for these frontier models, and then maybe just in general what a browser does and what these browser wars could mean? What's the future of the browser?
Yeah. Well, it ties back into exactly what you were saying before around, in a business, what areas are we not capturing the data and therefore we're not automating? And one of them is your search and what you're doing within a browser. Because yes, you've got your search history, but you're not capturing the interactions, and it sort of just sits there. So you can think of the browser as the gateway to all knowledge and information, up until recently anyway, before, say, ChatGPT. And so, but the thing that you lose with ChatGPT or these other LLMs is you just get a text interface. Yes, they can produce images for you now and they can source things, but it's not a good experience. It doesn't feel like you're browsing the web. You're just trusting what the LLM is giving you. So what is happening in this space is we're looking at a more traditional way of searching for information in a visual way, going to websites and interacting with the tools that we use on a day-to-day basis, like a tool like a CRM, for example, where you would manage customer data and your sales and your marketing through HubSpot or Salesforce. I don't think that that's going anywhere, because we still need to capture this information. If you're a sales rep who's calling someone, you still want to see who you're calling, the information about them, previous notes. And until we've got a Neuralink where that's all just plugged in, then we still need this visual interface. So what is happening in this space is a bunch of companies are trying to reinvent what the browser looks like now that we have AI and we have AI agents and LLMs plugged in, and Perplexity is one of them. I haven't used Comet yet, but it looks pretty cool, and there's a few people raving about it online. I have used a competitor to that called Dia. It's from a company called The Browser Company. It's DIA. Their old web browser that I actually use currently is called Arc, and they're kind of decommissioning that and going all in on Dia. And I guess the way to summarize this is you now have a ChatGPT-like interface that is helping you to interact with the web browser. So you can instruct it the tasks that you want to do, and it will go off and open the web pages. It will automate things for you, but it also has the context of all of the web pages you have open, your search history. And so I would say this is just a new way of interfacing with AI now that we've got the power of AI. And it's certainly going to be one of the hottest spaces. So we've got a couple of startups there, but like you said, we've got OpenAI, who I wouldn't consider a startup anymore, very much a scaled up company, is moving into this space. And we mentioned at the start of the show, Google with Gemini plugged in. You can only imagine what is going to happen to Chrome. Chrome's going to become that agentic browser as well. So it's certainly a big watch this space. And I'm super keen to start testing some of these products and really starting to rethink my own workflow. Every time that you go to open a tab somewhere, it's now thinking about how could I automate a bunch of the things that I'm about to do. And I think these AI browsers will help with that.
Yeah, I'm starting to sort of sense and feel that, like for instance, a few people, and I heard the CEO of Perplexity say he loves nothing more than like hearing that Perplexity's dead because of some Google drop. But I am starting to feel like they're basically an acquisition or die away from like, like Microsoft could get them and have them replace Edge or Bing, which no one uses. And then suddenly they're a player, but I can't see them competing on their own. Like I can't see them, competing against an OpenAI browser or a Google browser. I just feel like
it's too big of a space.
It's too big. And then also, I think, this XAI going into the Tesla is almost, I could almost see like, so XAI was purchased X, and then, that's got the Grok, that acquisition happened. So they rolled in. And I could almost see with Tesla's valuation now up in the trillions that potentially this little gift as Grok going in there is almost a way of of XAI getting rolled up into Tesla, and Tesla getting involved in phones because they're already in energy cars. They're almost in all hardware products, and I could see them getting into device land and then using Grok as the model, and Tesla can build the device. OpenAI, building devices. And I feel like we're then down to OpenAI as sort of the best product and model. Google owning search and, agentic browser and the bigger Google ecosystem. Meta, I can't see really doing much else apart from just spending heaps of money at the moment. It's like Mark spent all his money on VR and didn't nail it, and now he's going to spend all his money on super intelligence, just building data centers and buying overpriced teams. So that doesn't seem like, for me, it's going in the right direction. But I mean, they're a social media monster, so I think they're going to go their way. But I'm just seeing a bit of a convergence here. And for me, I just think it's OpenAI, Google, and Tesla, and potentially in that it could be an Apple death if OpenAI or Google or Tesla, really turn up to 11 on the product level. So that's my prediction based on what we're seeing here and what this sort of search war begins, and then just maybe some convergence of a couple of companies moving together.
Yeah. I think if you had to choose between being a software company, then going into hardware, or a hardware company and then going into software, nowadays, the harder thing to do is hardware to software. And so I think the companies that already have that product now, like Tesla does, like Apple does, I think that they stand more of a shot, even though Apple is proving to be resting on their laurels here. They haven't been able to produce anything. So I think that that's a pretty good bet to place.
Yeah, I don't think Apple's going to do anything internally. They're going to have to acquire someone. Like, they're going to have to Zuckerberg it and just buy something, buy WhatsApp, buy. They're used to. I mean, with Steve Jobs, he just did everything himself, and they built from the ground up. But he's been dead for a while now. and Tim Cook is a manufacturing guy. So like he's a how to be really efficient, and that's why they've had no innovation. So I think they're going to have to buy some innovation. They could buy Perplexity maybe, but yeah, I can't see. They've had so many opportunities to do something internally, and they're still nowhere. So I think they're going to have to acquire their way out of their problems. But mate, we could probably jump, because we've mentioned Meta, into the final segment being some parting wisdom, or at least a parting idea or a parting topic for us to get a bit philosophical on, and pick our side here. I think there's a real talent war going on out there, and there's two ways to win. One way is the Zuck way, which is just overpaying and buying talent when you know that internally you don't have it. I wouldn't say he's the most inspirational guy in the world. Like, you don't hear Zuck talk and think, I'm leaving my job and I'm coming to work for you. You know that Wolf of Wall Street line where he's like, how much do you earn? He's like, I'm going to quit my job right now and work for you. Versus what XAI have just been able to do with a pretty small team of obviously geniuses, but following a mission of building the world's best intelligence based on truth. And, no one sets a vision and curates talent and motivates them to work harder than Elon. And I just want to get your thoughts on just buying talent and getting them to work for you versus building a culture and a vision that's inspirational for people to follow.
I would almost break it into three. There's the financial side, just being able to buy talent. There's the mission and getting people around the mission. And then culture is maybe a subset of that, but I think you can have culture a bit separately to mission. And some people don't agree with me on this, but where it comes from is the fact that I actually don't think that you need to be doing say your life's work at your job. Does every single person who goes to work each day need to be thinking like they're solving the world's problems, or can you just be passionate about the type of work that you're doing? And I would give an example from my workplace is we don't hire people because they're passionate about construction. We hire people because they like cool technology, and we've got a great culture, and people are friendly at work, and there's a bit of a work hard, play hard culture. So that's the culture piece in our business. I would say we do have a mission, but we're not hiring super mission driven people where they wake up every day and they want to make construction better. Really, they want to build cool tech, and we happen to be in the construction industry and we love it. So when looking at, say, the Elons of the world and trying to compete for, say, the top 0.001% of talent, if you're going to compete with someone who's willing to spend $100 million on someone, you do have to have that mission driven. You have to be saying, we're sending people to Mars, or we're building the truth-seeking AI that is going to tell the truth about everything. And you're getting the top 0.001% because of that mission. And then there's I would say the culture there is a very unique culture. It's work your ass off and until we've got the job done. So comparing those two things, I think definitely having the mission and the culture is a lot better than the Zuck strategy. But I would break them out. And the other thing that I would remind people of is we are talking about parting wisdom here. I've seen a lot of young entrepreneurs out there trying to take just the way Elon runs his business and impart that on their employees, but not remembering that you're not Elon. You don't have the capital, you don't have the vision, you don't have the smarts. So just remember where you are, right? You can't treat your employees like shit like he does and expect them to stay and work really long hours if you're not sending people to Mars. If you're just building the next app to do this, understand where you are. Be inspired by him, sure. Yep. But unless you're Elon, I wouldn't just directly plug that strategy straight into your business. As a bit of a tangent onto the parting wisdom. But I'm keen on your take on this dichotomy we're talking about.
Well, I'd say that the way you've wrapped that up is perfect because Zuck knows who he is. Zuck isn't inspiring anyone to do anything. He's just buying companies. He's the world's best acquirer. Apart from Google that have got YouTube and a couple of other big fantastic acquisitions. I mean, Zuck just purchasing Instagram and WhatsApp is just legendary. Facebook, I would bet that Zuck doesn't use Facebook. I would bet it's
No way.
not even an app on his home screen. We spoke about home screen real estate. I'm tipping it's not on there. I don't think Zuck's got his own product on his front page of his iPhone. So, but he knows who he is. He knows that, like, hey, what do I have? What are my levers here? Oh, I've got 500 billion of like free cash flow or something. Like, and he goes, so what can I do? Okay, what do I have to do? I've got to go get the best talent in the world, and I'm going to go for ASI, and then I'm going to need tons of compute. So now he's just talking about building data centers the size of Manhattan. Like, and he's just going, it looks to me like, and he's clearly got, some cognitive, abilities. But he's just going, it appears compute plus talent equals success, in his robot brain. And, it looks to be a recipe for success. Now, what I would say is no one else is Zuck. No one else has got the 60 billy lying around to go pick up a few hacked engineers and then build data centers the size of Manhattan. So I agree with you that the key thing is know who you are here and know your space. If you're running a small plumbing company, how can you get some great plumbers to work for you? You aren't Elon, but you can offer a workplace where you're not just a plumber here. We're working towards something better. We want to be the best plumber in XYZ, and we want to innovate and make it so you've got less hands-on work. We're going to use machines, or we're looking at technology to make it so when you come work for us, you've got a longer working life and a better working life than the average plumber. So I think 100% knowing who you are and knowing what industry you're in. But then also I am really a build a culture, set a vision, build a culture, acquire the best talent that you have access to. And for some people, that's you can spend billions of dollars on talent. And for some people, if you own a cafe, you can only just go and find the best barista or the best head of the best waitress or waiter But for me, it's set the vision, acquire the talent, set them up with the right systems, and then get out of their way. I think that's the model for me of success. And then just make sure you're setting up really tight feedback loops with that talent to find out what's working and what's not working, and then set up really tight feedback loops with your customer base. So that's setting them up upstream and downstream. And then your job as a CEO is to, sometimes I call it green lights. You've got a bunch of people in the bus, and your job is to make sure that the traffic light's green every time they get to an intersection. And get out of the way.
Yep. Love that. I think regardless of what industry you're in, you're right that people want to have some sort of meaning. They want to know why that they're turning up to work, and having that vision, regardless of how big it is really important. People need that, and set them up with that recipe for success. And I love the green lights. Ensure you get the right people on the bus, and make sure the bus doesn't slow down.
And if you've got the wrong people, get the red light out.
Get the red, or the emergency brake glass hammer, and just chuck them off the bus.
I think it's the arrow turning right. So all the best, all the best on your new journey. Indicator. The bus pulls over, the door opens, and out you go. Awesome. Well, mate, let's end there. Super tight docket. Great to see you, and can't wait to see you face to face in Austin, as I don't think we even got together in Melbourne. So good for us.
Well, we need to make it happen now. So we're committed to the audience. So we'll make it happen next week.
Awesome, mate. Well done, and welcome to Austin.
Thanks, Scotty. See ya.